I hope everybody can see this. I'm hoping my camera won't move partway through because that would be really annoying. Anyway, my name's Karine and I run Karine Thorne Glass Artist. I haven't done a tutorial in a while, and I thought, well, as I'm making a heart to go into a frame, I'm going to be using a cookie cutter, and I did a tutorial that had just very basic, it was a few pictures, a little bit of information, but I thought I'd actually do one from scratch as I'm making one for a present anyway. So I'll go through what I've got and show you how I'm going to create a heart to go into a frame using this. So it's a stainless steel cookie cutter. The tools I've got are grozers, cutter, tweezers, nippers. So they're the tools I'm going to be using today. I actually tidied up my space, look at that. We've got, this is for a little girl, baby girl. So this is some petal pink opal, because the client has chosen pink. And to break it up a little bit, I've got a little bit of white opal, a little bit of confetti glass. If you're not used to confetti glass, it's really, really thin, really fine. You can break it up with your fingers. Just be careful, really sharp. I know glass is sharp, but this stuff will get you. And this one is like a cranberry pink. There's a little bit, I think, of pink opal in there as well, which is lovely. And then I am debating whether to use this as well, which I love this colour. So this is Neo Lavender. And this shifts between this lilac colour, more of a very light blue colour, to a light grey colour. So I'm not sure if I'm going to use it, but I'm going to see how the other colours look mixed together first. So anyway, so they're my glass choices. As I say, I've got my cookie cutter. I've got a layer of fibre paper. I use fibre paper first on my kiln base purely because it's an extra added layer of safety so that nothing gets stuck to the bottom of my kiln. And then I've got bullseye THINFIRE paper, which it says on it this side down, so follow instructions. And the difference between the two of these is if I fire directly on this one, the fibre paper, I can end up with tiny weeny little shards of it in the back of my glass, which it's not so bad for this because it's going onto a frame. But if I was making jewellery or something that was going to be worn, I wouldn't want a rough back, and you end up having to either file the back or get bits stuck in you, which isn't very pleasant. So I use THINFIRE on top. Now, for anyone who hasn't actually used either of these papers, they do give off a bit of a smell as they heat. They go from this beautiful white and a paper to a white powder. And the stages they go through is this starts off like this. It will go brown, then it will go black. And then when everything's like fully fused or you're done, it will go back to a white powder. You need to be wearing a mask when it's at a powder stage, definitely, because it gives off, like, you see it on my fingers, you actually end up with ceramic powder and you don't want to be breathing that in. So it does give off some fumes, depending on whether you like the smell of weird stuff. You might like it, you might not, but try and have your place like ventilated. So anyway, so they're my two papers. So that's the base of my kiln ready there. So what I'm actually going to do now is line my cookie cutter. So I'm just going to move that out of the way for the moment. Pop that over there. So to line my cookie cutter, I have got 1 mil piece of fibre paper, quite a long strip. I'm not going to need all of that, but it's good to have enough when you start. And another piece of bullseye THINFIRE paper. The reason I'm using both is because metal and glass heat and cool at different rates. So having both, one, gives it a smooth finish. 2, this acts as like a bit of a buffer between the glass and the steel, so it gives it a bit of movement. I've done it many ways, and this is the best way I've found. It might not work, who knows, but this is the best way I've found, because you can have instances where there's too much stress between the metal and the glass and you end up with your glass cracking. If you're using a big kiln, you would normally, steel products, you'd normally drape your glass over, but we're actually having ours inside, so as that silver contracts you could end up with cracking. Anyway, so the way I line it is I will take my piece of 1 mil fibre paper, pop it inside as neat and tidy and close to the edge as I can, and I tend to start with the pointy bit of the heart, And then when you get to the bit where it's, I don't know, what's it called? I suppose a bit like your lips, a bit of a Cupid's bow. I don't know. If anyone knows the technical term for the little bit at the top of the heart, let me know. I'm all about learning. So anyway, so I'm pushing it in, and then when I get to the part where they meet at this section, I'm just going to have the slightest bit of overlap. Now, the reason I'm going to have a tiny bit of overlap, you can see here, I'm going to break it here, is because I want to make sure that the whole inner surface of the steel cutter is covered. If you don't, you will find that any glass that actually is exposed to the steel will literally stick. You probably be able to prise it off, but it's always nicer to start with a better beginning. That sounds so pants, doesn't it? So it's always better to start as you mean to go on. If you're going to take the time and effort to do this, prep is a really important thing, as with anything apparently, but I'm really normally rubbish at prepping and planning. I just go for it. So anyway, so your bullseye, you want the little bullseyes on there against the fibre paper, because you want the smooth side to be against the glass. So I've just made a little crease, and I'm going to go in again with this. You could glue these together and then fold them round, but I like to make things difficult for myself. Why not? So here we go. Hopefully you're still with me, because you're like, oh God, just get on with it, woman. Right, so this is in here, and again, you want an overlap to make sure that you've got no exposed areas. So again, I'm just going to break it off here, and then I'm going to manipulate it into place, trying to make sure that I retain my heart shape all the way around. You can crease it in there, and then as much as you can, there you go, you've got your cookie cutter is lined. I'm going to come up here and have a quick look. My camera's far away, but you can see that. So it's lined inside. So you want it all the way to the bottom of your cookie cutter, so it's flush along the bottom. Now you don't have to do the next step, but I find again it's so much easier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push this down, and I'm just going to pop a couple of dots of super glue or any glue that you've got. Might not work, might not bond it, but if you pop a couple of little dots in, maybe 4, and push it down onto your thin fire paper that's going to be on the base of your kiln. The reason I do this is when you're manipulating glass around, the last thing you want to do is fill this up and then knock this and all your glass go everywhere. You want to try and keep it inside here, and if it's stuck to this, you've got more chance. I also build it up on the kiln base so that I'm not then lifting this up, trying to put it on the kiln and risk dropping it. It wouldn't surprise you to know that I've spent a lot of time dropping glass. So anything I can do to try and avoid that, minimise me making a mess, I will do. So here we go. So it's not perfectly stuck, you can see that, but it's stuck enough to kind of keep it in place for when I want to fill it. So that's the actual base side of it, and now we're ready to put some glass in. Now obviously everything's really expensive at the moment, so the best way of doing these hearts, and the way that I do them anyway, is that I've got all this glass over here, which is basically scraps from all sorts of stuff that I cut out. And we always end up with a big load of scrap glass, normally clear. So here it is, my big old box. So what I do is I take pieces of this, and I want to build up 2 layers inside, so that I've got clear on the bottom layer, clear on the top next layer, and then I'm going to put my colour over the top, because it's going into a frame, so the part you see is going to be that coloured area. So I try and fill it up as close to the heart shape as I can with bits and pieces, filling up as many as the gaps. So I'm going to start doing that now, and once that's done I will show you. But so I've got a lot of triangle pieces, because I cut out a lot of circles, which is weird. You think, cutting out circles, why do you end up with loads of triangle pieces? Well, because the way I cut them, I end up with loads of triangle pieces. Pretty sure I need help. So I am literally just going to layer this up. Now these bits will go in. I'll probably take them out, move them about, but I want to get as good a layer on the bottom as I can. I've got my nippers and my cutters so that I can actually cut some areas around so that I'm not excuse me, so that I'm filling it up as much as I can. It doesn't always work out perfectly because, you know, that's life, but at least if you've got some bits that fit as snug as possible, you can fill the gaps up with clear frit. So I've got fine clear frit, I've got medium clear frit somewhere, which I've put somewhere, and I need to go and find that in a minute, but yeah, it's around. So what I will do is fill all of this up, and then you'll be able to see what the first layer looks like when I've done it. Oh, you might be able to see the top of my head there. That's not what you want to see. Right, so we got some pieces. Let's pop that piece in there. Oh, so if anyone's any good at puzzles, you'll be like, it's not going to fit. Really isn't going to fit. No, you're right, it's not going to fit, but I'm going to persevere because I really want some pieces that fit nicely so that my heart is as filled up as nicely as possible. Look at that. Yay. Close enough. Close enough. Don't forget, this is just one layer, so you're going to be building this up. So you know, if you've got gaps, we're going to fill it with some more clear anyway, so it's not a problem. Let's go with... Now, if I wasn't filming this, I'd have done this by now. I'd have been like, yeah, it's going in there. Let's put it in. And I'm dithering now because I'm like, oh, there's people watching. Well, actually, there might not be people watching because who knows? You might have got to the point where it's like, all right, I'm done now. I've watched enough of that. Right, you'll do. You'll fit. Okay, squish you down as far as possible. I've got so much of this clear glass. It's like going into a sweet shop and being like, oh, there's too much to choose from. And it's like, yeah, but not all of it's going to fit. So just pick some pieces and go with it. Okay, so while you're manoeuvring it, try and hold your thing down because you don't want to scratch any of this and knock it. And again, you don't want glass. Your main thing is you do not want glass in contact with your cookie cutter, because realistically you're just going to end up with your beautiful piece of glass that you've worked really hard on stuck inside your cutter, because we all know what that means. That means starting again. But hopefully you only kind of make the mistake once, unless you're like me and you're like, oh, that'll work. No, it won't. Right. So it's literally about manipulating all these little pieces in together as much as you can. Don't rummage through with your hands, which I was doing because that's a really stupid thing to do. You want to use your tweezers. Well, you know, you're all probably way more sensible than I am. And I'm like, yeah, just going with my hands. When in actual fact, this is why you get so many cuts. Because you're a bit stupid at times. Nice thing about doing a video, a tutorial or whatever you want to call it, is that I do spend a lot of time talking to myself. So pretending that I'm actually, or not pretending, but doing this so that I'm actually talking to other human beings, hopefully makes me appear a little bit less strange. There's no guarantee. Right, okay, so we've got a couple of little gaps. I am going to try and get a little piece of glass in there. Now with this method of doing it, you are going to end up with bubbles and things like that. It can't be helped, but actually it can look really, really nice as a part of your heart. You tend to get bubbles in anything where you're going to get little air pockets, and if the air doesn't have time to escape, you're going to get little bubbles in there. But as I say, it adds to the overall beauty of handmade things. Now I'm just going to pop to the other side of my studio, which is kind of like there, and try and find the other little pot of, what have I got? Clear fine for it. I need medium for it. The annoying thing is I was being really organised and now I'm not. So, wow, that was quick. There it is. Look at that. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to take some Bullseye clear medium frit. I get my stuff from Warm Glass purely because it's the most local glass supplier to myself. Plus, I get to go and drive for an hour and a half and pop along and pick things up. I used to be able to go in the shop, but they don't have the shop now, which is a real shame. So Warm Glass, you need to set your shop back up again. You used to be able to go in there, and again, that was proper like a candy store, because you could go in, have a look at pretty much every single piece of glass they did, and it was all fired, so you could see exactly how it came out, and oh, it was amazing. Not so amazing for the bank balance, but a really good experience. And I used to do a round trip, like an hour and a half there, have lunch and a lay-by with my mum, and then pop back again. But no, we can't do that now, but that's all right, because everything's online. And they do some amazing stuff. So right, this is what you don't want. You don't want a little piece of glass in there. You want to try and keep it inside this. Now I've got these tiny weeny little spoons. I use them for glass and nothing else, before anyone questions me. And if my head is in the way, I am so sorry. So all I'm doing is just filling up some of the gaps in between my first layer. Okay, so another reason for having this attached is that I'm just going to knock it, and this is attached to it, so I've got less chance again of the cookie cutter moving and me ending up with glass all spewing out the sides. So this is just to fill up any little gaps that I can't quite get a solid piece of glass into. So first layer done. So then we do it all again. It's like deja vu. And fill up again on another part for the second layer. Another part, I don't know. Yeah, second layer. So again, I'm just cutting out some pieces that I think might fit. These are curves when I cut out a load of robins. And then actually realised that, you know, I'd cut their beak off or their tail or whatever. So I've just got all these little curvy bits, which for hearts is really handy. There we go. Oh, excuse me. Oh. There's another little curvy bit. So if I nip off the end of that one. So you've got your nippers. If you're not in a studio like me and it's not majorly an issue, is that a word? I don't know. If it's not a major issue, there we go, English language woman. If it's not a major issue to have bits of glass pinging in other directions, it's not, you know, that's fine. But if you're in a home, when you're doing your cutting of your glass or nipping or anything like that, it's always best to do it inside a bag so that you can catch all your little shards. My dear friend Leslie Benyon, who some of you may know from Microwave Fuse Glass Fanatics Facebook page. That's probably not what it's called, but I have trouble with my words sometimes. When I went to her house, she was there with her little bag, and I was like, oh, what's that for? And then she was cutting stuff inside the bag, and I was like, that's a brilliant idea. You know, saves mess, stops stuff going everywhere. And then I get really bad, totally forget, and then I have glass going everywhere. But luckily, I am in a studio that's dedicated to my glass and my silver work. I live in chaos in the sense that I'm more creative when there's stuff laying around. When I go off camera, it's purely because I'm cutting bits up. I haven't gone anywhere, I'm still here, but I'm just trying to cut some bits up to try and get them into these little spaces that I've got. There we go. So there we go, one last bit. So you'll probably see this posted on Microwave Fuse Glass Fanatics Facebook page. There's a number of people on there, well, there's loads of us on there now, and every single one of us, or I'd say every single one of us, I can't speak for everybody, but we're all pretty much a good community, and we like to have a chat with everyone and give ideas, help out where we can. No stupid questions, because there are no stupid questions. There's people that have been doing this for 20 odd years like me, and then there's people that are new, and we are happy to answer questions and help where we can. I'm one of those people that if someone asks a question, I don't just do yes, no. I like to actually give a little bit more information than that, to say, you know, why you can do it or why you can't do it, because you can't learn if, you know, if people don't explain stuff. So if you ever want to know anything, pop questions on there. You can always tag me, Corinne Thorne Glass Artist. It will pop up, and if I can't answer it, we'll find someone who can. But it's a really great group, so if you're not a member of that already and you're using a microwave kiln, please join. It's a really nice community. Right, so anyway, back to what we're actually doing. So this is our second layer, and again I'm going to go in with some more of the medium frit, and just fill up again any of those gaps that we have got. I just thought I better check if I'm still recording, because if I'm not recording, I'm sat really talking to myself. Oh dear. Right, so there we go. So I am happy that I'm pretty sure that is filled up where I want it. So another thing with glass fusing, and most of you might know about it, some of you will not, so I will repeat it on here. The rule when melting glass, really, especially in a microwave kiln, because you've got limited space, is to try and make sure that everything is 6mm in height, if you want it to maintain its shape, because all the glass, when you melt it, if you look at a couple of pieces you've made, you'll note that they all want to be the same height, so they all want to be 6mm. So I've got a couple of pieces over here which they have wanted to go to approximately 6mm. And your glass will want to do that. Now with the steel, the stainless steel cookie cutter, what you're doing is you're creating a mould, so whatever you put in there is only going to go to that shape. So although this is 6mm with a 2-3mm clear glass and then extra bits, so although it's, when I've put the pink on and the other colours, it's going to be higher, it's not going to spread out. And the reason it won't do, because obviously it's contained within this. So your 6mm rule doesn't really matter in here. If I was doing something like this and it was like it's going to end up probably about, I don't know, 8-9mm high, but no border around it, nothing to stop it moving, it's literally just going to spread out in your kiln as it goes molten to get to 6mm. The danger of that is if you've got more glass when it's spread out than the surface of your kiln, you are going to end up with glass on the base or around the edges or on the inside layer of your kiln lid, which is where all the magic happens. So you want to try and avoid that happening. There are files within the Facebook page, which I keep referring to, which go through a load of the sort of things that I'm talking about. So if you want more info, ask questions or have a look at the files, or go onto the Bullseye website, because they've got loads and loads of information on there about how glass reacts to heat and things like that. So anyway, you're probably sick of me talking by now. Right, so I am just going to set that aside one moment over there, because I've got my 2 layers done. Now I'm going to get a little pot and just give it a clean out, because it's had other little bits of glass in it and I don't want to contaminate the colours I've got with other colours. So what I'm going to do, I've got my little trusty pot. I'm just going to select a small amount. So I've got some petal pink, excuse me, medium opal. This one actually came from Reading stained glass. I actually purchased this off of someone else, so this is where they purchased their glass from, so another supplier that you can use. Then don't have their website, or they do have a website, but there's nothing on it. What you do is you find a product online, and then you give the guy a call, who's absolutely lovely, and tell him what you're looking for, and he'll give you prices and tell you what he's got. So it's a shame not to use them just because they don't have a visible website with everything on it, because they're actually a really, really good company, and he's very kind and very helpful. So anyway, I'm going in with some pinks. I am going to pop a little bit of white in there because I do want some contrast. When I say to people, you know, what colour would you like when it comes to doing a frame and a heart, I tend to do a mix, because I think all one colour is lovely, and if that's what they want, that's what I'll do. But I just think it's nice to have a little bit of a variation in there between the sort of the contrasts. Or I've done a blue one recently, and I've got like 4 or 5 different blues in there, and it just looks really pretty. So that's my white and my pink. Now I don't need a huge amount because it's got the clear in there, and then I'm going across that, so I don't need a huge amount, but anything that's left I can use for another project. So this is our confetti glass. Now as you can see, it's really, really thin, like really thin, and you can break it with your fingers. If you want lots of little shards of it, what I do is I take my tweezers, I put my hand over the top, and I just push my tweezers in, and it will break it apart for you, especially if you're wanting to layer up little pieces. Now the great thing with confetti glass is you could use something like this. You could put a clear layer on the bottom, bit of confetti glass, another clear layer, bit more confetti glass, and what you'll have is those different depths of the layers in between, like a little confetti glass sandwich. So it's a really nice thing, a nice glass to be able to use. You can use it on the surface to create pictures with it, whatever you want to do really, but it's so fine. And with what I'm using it with today with my heart, is it's just going to have some little areas where it's got a little bit darker colour against that petal pink. I'm also going to go in with that little piece. So I've got a couple of pieces here which are, I don't know how they've got in there, but they are pink opal. So you can see this one's more of a transparent, and then you've got more of an opal colour there. So I'm just going to break, oh, make sure you've got goggles on. If you can wear gloves and work, then wear them. I don't like using gloves unless I really, really need to, but that's just me, and I'm not saying don't be safe and don't copy me, but what I want to do is make sure you've got goggles and stuff on, because the last thing you need is this pinging in your eye. Anyway, so I'm gonna pop that aside for a minute because I've got some nice bits to work with there. Take my little spoon. Some people will know what I'm referring to when I do spoon, other people won't. I use it just for glass. Right, so I'm going to go in first with this. So I'm going to check you can see that, and I'm layering it just around the edges to start with, just to make sure I get into all of those areas that could be missed, like the little pointy area, the reverse part of the Cupid's bow. So yeah, I'm all up, as I say, I'm all up for learning, so just let me know what the top and the bottom bit of a heart's called. I'm going to be really disappointed if there isn't a specific technical term, aren't I? I'll just be like, well, there should be. So you're going in with a really good layer on this, because obviously when you're using frit, whether it's your powder, your fine, or your medium, it's a bit like sugar. You always need more than you think, because as it melts, it fills up all the little gaps that are left from the solid pieces, and it all just goes bleh. So like you put a bag of sugar in a pan, heat it up, and you're like, well, where's all the sugar gone? There's not very much there. So this does the same thing. So I'm going in with a really good kind of layer I'd probably say by the time I do this, it's going to be about another 3 mil. I want to make sure, I've got a little spillage on that side. You might not be able to see it. I'm not going to worry about it too much. But I obviously didn't glue that side down well enough, so I'm going to try not to move this about too much, because there's a bit of glass coming out the underside. Now thankfully it's just the clear, and I say I'm not going to worry about that too much. So there's my colour in my heart, and when you take it out the cookie cutter and you fired it and everything, it will be the clear on the colour on the top that you'll see. So as I say, with the frame, that looks really nice. You've managed to use some of your clear scrap, but you've still given that really nice effect of having those colours on top. So the white and the pink's lovely, really lovely, but I want a little bit more depth. So I'm literally with tweezers going to go in and pop some specks of these 2 colours in. So that's the pink opal confetti and some cranberry confetti, which I need some more cranberry confetti because I did have a nice little pot of it, and then I was carrying all my stuff up the stairs, concrete stairs of course, dropped the lot, and the little pot was glass because I like glass, and ended up with confetti glass covering the concrete stairs. So that was a part of a day that I didn't expect to be on my hands and knees picking up tiny pieces of glass off of steps. But yeah, note to self, don't try and carry too much at a time. It's, you know, it's so much quicker just to go down and do it in 2 runs. Anyway, babbling again. Right, so I'm just randomly sprinkling these over, and then they will all melt into the lovely petal pink and the white surface. This is for a little baby that was born September, and I believe, I'm not sure if she's home now or not, but to be honest with you, I'm so happy to be asked to make something so special for a family with a new baby. Brings me joy, really does. And no one else is going to have the same thing, which is lovely too. And as long as I've got their permission, I will be able to share the frame once it's made with you all. I'll be able to share the heart because it's got no details on it, but obviously I want to make sure that I don't share anything I'm not meant to, because that'll be wrong. Right, so I think we've got enough, maybe a couple little bits. Now I have to do this squinting thing where you squint and have a look at it, so you can see if you've got more on one side or on another. You can all shout at me at this point going, you need a bit over there, it's behind you. Oh, pantomime season soon. Welcome to how my brain thinks. Off we go on a tangent. While I'm doing this, I'm actually going to let you know I do have a website, which is www.corinethorne.co.uk. There's not a huge amount on there at the moment because I need to get my backside into gear and get some stuff on there. Most of my stuff ends up on Facebook, but feel free to have a nose. You can always contact me through there as well if you've got any questions and you're not sure about where to ask. And again, if I don't know the answer, I'll find out for you because that's what I do. But yeah, so check out my website at some point if you have time. If you're watching this as well, it's really hard to get your stuff out there, and I love being able to show people how to do things. I don't charge, so you can really help me by subscribing and sharing my content. Again, it's not a huge amount there. I need to get better at it. I like talking, clearly, so it would be really nice if you could subscribe and maybe share some stuff about for me. That'd be brilliant. Anyway, back to what we were doing. I'd be a really bad presenter, wouldn't I? I'd be like, oh yeah, this is what we're talking about, wasn't it? Oh yeah. I'm just removing any little pieces of glass. Now normally I put a whole piece of these papers on the bottom so I don't have any problems. Today I haven't. I don't know why, but I haven't, so I'm just picking off any little pieces of glass that have decided to go, hey, let's go to get stuck to the bottom of the kiln, because that's fun. Anyway, so there is my heart all ready to go into the kiln. Now, the one I've used, the kiln I've actually used, is the Y-class, the middle one. There's a tiny one, and then there's a middle one, and then there's the really big one. I say really big one, it's not that much bigger. Oh shoot. I didn't swear. I did not swear. So this one is about the 11 centimetres, which is what, just 4 something inches, something in America. Okay, this is not a major issue. Concentrate on what you're doing. Can't sing either. Right, so this is going to now go into the kiln, and I will tell you a little bit more about that. Okay, so this is my microwave. Da, da, da. You lucky people get to see me now. Hello. Anyway, so my microwave is 700 watt. I'm just going to double check. Don't like this. Don't like being on camera. There I am. Right, okay. So my microwave is 700 watt, and I very rarely use max, but for this one here I've got my little blocks, ceramic blocks, so they hold it off the turntable. I've never taken my turntable out. I'm sure there's reasons why people do, but I never have. This microwave cost me like a tenner about 15 odd years ago. Please don't die on me. I love this. Can't find them anymore. So if anyone's got any one of these 700 watt and it still works, either keep it or pass it to me. Thanks. So anyway, so it's in here. Shut the door. I'm hoping it's plugged in. So I'm going to start on 350 for 9 minutes. And the reason I do that is I never start off higher than that. So working that out, that's what, 50% of what the wattage of my microwave. So I always do 350 and then I build it up. You want to build up your glass heating as slowly as you can, purely because glass can end up with thermal shock. So if you go whack it right in on maximum, then you have run the risk of it actually cracking and you having problems. And again, it can get stuck to the inside your kiln and all sorts of stuff. So if you want to know more about heating and cooling glass, again, Bullseye website, Warm Glass website, even though you're using a microwave kiln and not a big girl kiln, the process and the scientific info behind it and everything is still valid, and it's still relevant to what you're doing when it comes to glass. The only difference is you're having to work it out yourself and do it by eye, and not just have a little program that you can schedule in. So the principle behind melting glass is exactly the same. So with using the microwave kilns, you still want to go up slowly and come back down slowly. So I'm going to start mine off at 350. I won't make you sit here for nine whole minutes watching my microwave go round. Not unless you've had a few pints or a bottle of wine, and that might be quite interesting. But realistically, I won't make you do that. So I'm going to pop it on, and then I will be back to you for the next bit. Ka-ching. So that's just finished on its first cycle of 9 minutes on 350. Not much would have happened. It does smell a little bit as that paper's heating up. I'm going to pop it on for another 9 minutes on 500 and just leave it on there again for a little bit. So it's just done 500 watts, 9 minutes. So at this point I'm just going to have a little bit of a look. This can get hot. So in my box of mini goodies, I appear only to have one of what I need. So these are from IKEA. And they are silicone, I don't know what they are really. They're kind of like frogs. But anyway, so they're like silicone pan holders, so you use them in the oven and everything, or not in the oven because that'd be weird, but pop them in the oven. Lost the plot. Right, start again. From IKEA, little froggy things. They're used for taking hot pans out of the oven, but they also work really well for this. As I said, I don't like using gloves. However, I do have gloves because these do get very hot. But when they're not too hot, I use these. Or I got these little rubber thimbles from my local post office for like 25p. And again, they're great. I clearly just like green rubbery things, but there we go. Anyway, so I'm gonna have a quick look just to see what it's doing. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see this or the back of my head. So either way, when you lift up your kiln lid, have a little peep, just tilt it ever so carefully and then place it back down again. You don't run the risk of too much heat escaping. You also don't run the risk of too much cold air, like today, October, oh my god, October, England, cold. So obviously not as cold as some places, but not warm either. So you don't want an injection of cold air hitting your warm glass because it's cold. The outside will become cooler, and then the inside will still be molten, and you end up risking thermal shock, and that will cause cracking. So anyway, we don't want to do that. So quick flick, have a quick look, pop it down again. I'm going to stay on 500 for the moment. No, I'm not. I'm going to go on to max, which I very rarely use, but this is inside a cookie cutter, and I want it fully fused anyway, so we're just going to go for it. So I'm going to pop it on max. Lost him. And I'm only going to run that for 5 minutes just to see. So I always run it for like 2 solid amounts of time on the 2 first temperatures, and that's with anything that I do. And then after that I basically decide, do I want to go on to max and run it for a little bit, or do I want to keep it on the 500 and run it really, really slow? It does depend what I'm doing, and you will get to know your own kiln, your microwave, your temperatures and everything. Do loads of practicing. Make notes, and I say that because it's such an important thing to do that I always never do. Because I'm rubbish and I forget to make notes, and I've been doing this so long I'm just kind of used to it now. But make notes of how big something is, how many layers you've put in, how long it's run for, different stages, so that if you find something you really, really like, and you've made it and it's come out brilliant, then you've got notes for it. I do it with my big girl kiln that I now have, because woohoo, I've got a big girl kiln. But it's such an important thing to do. I've also got pieces of jewellery that I made for myself years and years and years ago with the most beautiful glass in, but I could not tell you for the life of me what the glass was. So make a note of it, or take a photograph, which is what I do quite a bit now, is take a photograph of it beforehand, take a photograph after, and either make a note on it on your notepad or whatever of what you used, or pop your bit of glass on a bit of paper, write it down, take a photo, you've got all the information there, you've got before, after, and it's a really, really good way of referencing it quite quickly. That's about as organised as I get. Anyway, I'm going to run this for the next 3 and a bit minutes, and we're going to see what it's done after that. Anyway, bye. Okay, so that's run for those however long I put it on, 5 minutes, pretty sure, on maximum. We're going to have a quick little peek. I tried to look for my other green froggy thingy, and it's like a luminous green. Can I find it? No, it's here somewhere, I'm sure. So anyway, we're back to the old thimbles. So again, stepping over here, hopefully you can see this. Have another little peep. You can see it's quite glowing now. I want to be able to look enough to see, yeah, it's melted inside completely. So now what I want to do is I'm going to take it out very carefully. Now I've got a ceramic tile. Hopefully you can see that still. Yep, ceramic tile. And then what I'm going to do is, because I want to slow the cooling down because it's a large piece, I'm going to pop a little kiln on top. What that does is that actually cools the glass down a lot slower than it would with the hole exposed. With larger pieces, you do have to think about annealing. With smaller stuff, not so much, but with larger pieces, you need to think about the rate at which it cools down. Now, bearing in mind, my annealing process on my big girl kiln is about, what, 2 hours, and then it cools down for so many hours, like, I don't know, 8 hours. This obviously is a lot quicker, so whatever you can do to slow it down, whether it's a ceramic tile on top, this is ceramic tile, and then I've got heat resistant or heat retardant paper underneath, and then obviously the kiln on top. That is pretty warm, but it's a cold day, it's rather nice. And then a little kiln on top to cover the hole up, and that will help slow that process down. You've also got the issue of having glass and steel together again, which cool down at different rates. So just leaving it, don't peep at it, just leave it. I always let mine cool right the way down, so they're completely cool to the touch. If you spend ages doing something, and again, it's just all about this, if you want to spend time doing something, don't rush right at the last minute to go, oh, do you know what, I want to have a quick look, see how it's going now. We've done that out of the kiln purely because we want to see if it's ready. That's it. It's the only reason I'm peeping at it. So now I know it's at where I want it at. I'm now just going to leave that. I'm not back up the studio again till tomorrow afternoon possibly, so this will now just be left to do its thing and cool down, and hopefully by then I will have a little heart to show you. Obviously I'm not going to make you wait all night. I'm not going to leave this recording because I need my phone. I've got a game to play and, you know, other stuff to do, like look after a 9-year-old boy. Oh, better feed him. So anyway, I'm going to leave that, and I will show you how it comes out when I get back to the studio. Thank you very much for watching, if you're watching so far. Again, like and subscribe, share me about. If there's anything, I talk a lot, so I can't help it, but if there's anything that I've said that you're like, I have no idea what you're on about, or I'd like to know more about that, send me a message and I'll respond to you as much as I can. Anyway, bye-bye for now. Oh, and in the words of my friend Kerry, love you, bye. Right, so I am back in the studio, and I am just going to show you. So this is the moment of truth to see how this heart came out. Wow. Oh, there we go. Let's get settled. Right, sorry. Okay, so we're going to see how the heart went out. Oh, look at that. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Lovely little heart with all different little pinks. You can't see much of the white. But that's okay because there are little flecks of it, so you can actually, there's little bits in there that you can see, but the other little pinks have come out lovely. So because we've lined this with THINFIRE and fibre paper, we should just be able to gently push this out. She says gently. So what we've got is all your fibre paper and everything like that. So what I will do is a little bit of cold work to do, in the sense that there's some little pieces here where a little bit of the glass that's snuck from underneath, I don't know if you can see that, so little pieces that snuck from underneath are stuck around the edge, but again, because it's going onto a frame, I can just grind those off there, or you can just use a like 3M diamond pad or something like that just to smooth it off. And then that will be ready to go into the frame, and I'm going to be using a pine frame for this one, and then I'll be printing off some information that's got like little baby's name and date of birth and her weight. So I'm really chuffed with that. If for any reason your heart does crack, what you can do is leave it in the cookie cutter and rerun it again right from the start, and 9 times out of 10 that will actually sort that out for you. But this one appears to have come out really nicely. I've obviously got this on my hand. So this is your powder. Your ceramic powder come from your THINFIRE. So this is what you don't want to be breathing in. So that's when you've got your mask on and everything like that. But there it is. So I hope you can see it and I hope you like it. And I'm going to go and sort this out and then make the frame. And if I've got permission, I will show you the frame once it's done. Probably in another post on YouTube. So anyway, so yeah, like and subscribe. And I'm going to be trying to make some more tutorials as and when I'm making bits and pieces here in my Devon studio. Anyway, take care. Bye bye. Right, because this is going into a frame and I've used obviously THINFIRE, so I get a really smooth, oh, it looks a bit bumpy, but it's actually really, really smooth. So for me to be putting it into a frame, I actually want some roughness on the back so that it adheres really well. So all I'm doing is taking a diamond file. I've got my water to stop any glass dust, and then I'm just running the file over the back and I'll do that in different directions. It's really noisy, and it will just give me that texture on the back to help it adhere correctly when I put it onto the frame. Now, it's different ways you can do it. You can actually adhere to it to the glass on the front of the frame. I like to print out the information, names, wording, whatever anybody wants, on really nice card, and then I glue that to the backing of the frame, and then I actually use Gorilla Tape to attach the heart directly onto that card, and then the glass over the top. But you can do it whichever way you want to do it. It's just my preferred way of doing it, but I guess it would depend what I was actually doing. So let's have a quick look at that and have a feel. A lot of it's by feeling. So there's a really smooth bit there, that one's good. So just a little bit more in this section will just give me enough rough surface so that it sticks really nicely when I pop it in the frame. So that's what I'm doing, and of course no one's going to see that because it's actually going to be in the frame, so no one will see any of the rough bits on the back. But you can see it's not as shiny now. It's got some marks and everything all over it, but that will just help it stick in place for when I do it. And there's my heart. So brilliant. Thank you very much. Bye bye.